What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back with another player ratings video. We played Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday, losing 1-0 in a game where I think it gave a lot of Tottenham fans hope moving forward into this season. I think that it's a game where we felt that, the first game where we felt that this is a proper Jose Mourinho team, a game where we actually had a game plan which we nearly implemented to perfection, really. I think just a few missed chances, we weren't clinical enough, and that goal that Liverpool scored probably should have been a goal, should have been our throw-in, really.
Yeah, look, there were some positives, and I thought it was a good display, especially against the best team in the league at the moment. But I'm gonna it's a different game to what we usually play against teams who aren't going to be as attacking as Liverpool. So we're just I'm holding back just say this performance is giving me hope in the future, because not necessarily just yet for me.
Yeah, but you know, if you look at the big games we've played so far under Jose, where the Chelsea game, the Man United game, and now the Liverpool game, even the Wolves game you can put in there, I think that the game plans implemented in those games, we couldn't really see what it was. But in this game, you could actually see what the game plan was.
Yeah, but there's a difference. At Chelsea, we were expected to win that game. United were expected to win that game. Wolves were probably expected to get something out of that game. We're expected to be on the front foot. This game, we weren't. So there's a difference there. And we did still end up losing at the end of the day. So
we did, but as you said, there were a lot of positives. Anyway, let's get into the player ratings. Go on.
We'll start with Paolo. We gave him a 7. Very good display from him. I thought some really, really important saves from Mane in the second half and from Van Dijk in the first half, getting to those headers. I thought he did really, really well. Kicking maybe could have been done a bit better, because he kept going long to Lucas, who obviously Van Dijk's going to win those headers all day long. But yeah. I thought other than that, yeah, he did pretty well. Yeah,
I thought he probably would have thought he would have had a much more testing game than he had. I thought he probably made about 2 great saves the whole game, but apart from that, he was fairly untested.
Yeah.
Moving on to Danny Rose, we gave him a 3. Back in the side for a first start for a while from Danny Rose. My grandpa was very happy to see him back in the side, but unfortunately it wasn't the kind of performance we were expecting. A lot of misplaced passes, a lot of losing the ball. Didn't provide too much of an outlet. Just not very good from Danny Rose, I'm afraid.
He was shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. I can't remember too many times he actually found a Tottenham player. Every time he got the ball, he gave it away. I would love to see his pass completion rate after the game, because it must be like under 50%. It was that bad. And then a couple of times he tried to dribble past the Liverpool player, kept getting found out.
Doesn't seem to have it anymore.
He completely off the pace. I know it's his first game back from injury, and he usually takes quite a while to come back, but given his performances so far this season, it's not very encouraging, and this was probably the worst of the lot.
Yeah.
Next up, Toby Alderweireld, we gave him a 7. I thought a pretty assured performance from him. I thought for me, obviously got away a couple of times, but that was usually on the break, and I thought he did quite well most of the time up against him. I thought he did a couple of really nice pings into the final third, nearly got Son in behind a couple of times with the balls over the top. But other than that, we didn't have too many chances to find that ball over the top, because Liverpool worked us out pretty quickly, I felt. Once Toby had a bit of time on the ball, they just dropped off, and then all of a sudden those balls were going to Liverpool heads. But saying that, I thought we had a pretty decent game.
He had a good game. I thought probably, when you're talking about Toby, Tanganga and Sanchez, he was probably the worst out of the 3. But I think that he did a lot of work helping those two, doing all the good work that they did. But anyway, let's move on to Japhet Tanganga, debutant. We gave him an 8. His first start in the Premier League, I thought he was absolutely immense. He played a bit of right back, he played a bit of centre back, he played a bit of left back. Very versatile performance from Tanganga. I thought he pretty much had Mane in his pocket, which is absolutely sensational. And then Salah, which is absolutely sensational for a guy of his age, 20 years old, first start in the Premier League. Some people were fearing the worst having him in the side, but I think he was absolutely sensational. Some of the headers he was winning, nothing got past him pretty much the whole game. He what can I say apart from sensational Tanganga, seriously?
Yeah, he was an absolute beast, and I was so impressed how he performed. He didn't get overawed by the occasion. I thought he wasn't scared to approach Mane and Salah and get really tight to them and be physical with them and win the ball, nick the ball. Only a couple of things I would say is on the ball, he lost the ball a couple of times, just a bit rash, so he's got to compose himself when he's on the ball a bit. And the other thing is, Yeah, he did very well in this game, in a game where we're sitting deep, and he's always going to have numbers around him when he's defending. But when we come up against other teams where we're expected to be more on the front foot, he's going to have to do a lot more one-on-one defending. And and he's not going to have anyone to bail him out if he makes a mistake, unlike in this kind of game where there's numbers around him. So we have to wait. I would wait and see how he does in these kind of games before we have a proper judgment. But I must say, very impressed with how he performed, especially given the opposition.
Yeah, for someone like that who's hardly played a game all season to come in and put that kind of performance in, it's just sensational, really.
Very proud.
He looked like he'd been a mainstay in that defence for a long time. It looked like he was ready for the occasion, and so strong and fast, I thought.
Yeah. Next up, Davinson Sanchez, we also gave him an 8. Really assured performance at the back. Also cut out the mistakes I felt on the ball as well, which was good to see. Wasn't perfect, but it was better than usual. Didn't kind of panic and didn't seem like he was shitting himself every time he received it. I thought it was very composed, and I thought every time Mane or Salah kind of took him on, he was out muscling them, and he was seeing the ball out of play, and he defended very well, and I was very impressed.
Moving on to Serge Aurier, we gave him a 6. He was on the right-hand side of midfield for most of the game. I felt that he had nothing to do with the defensive side of the team, did he? No. Which was probably why he had an okay performance. At the end of the game, he put in a brilliant cross, which was it for Lo Celso.
Yeah, really unlucky not to get assist.
Really unlucky not to get assists, as Lo Celso really needs to be finishing it from there. But apart from that, I think he was getting up well, but the quality of the crosses weren't good enough consistently.
Except for that one ball, which was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was one of the best balls he's put in all season.
Yeah, but you got to do it consistently, especially against a team like Liverpool.
I thought he helped out Tanganga quite a bit to stifle Mane. I thought he did a decent job in that sense, but obviously the only time he was back, one of the only times he's back in defence, he concedes a throw, which wasn't really a throw to Liverpool, and obviously we end up conceding a goal, which is frustrating. Mourinho said that we spent half an hour in training defending throw-ins, and then we conceded a goal from a throw-in, so he must be pulling his hair out of that. But I thought it was a decent display from Aurier.
Yeah.
Next up, Harry Winks, we gave him a 6. A lot of people were slating Harry Winks on social media, saying he was overrun and he wasn't very good. I didn't see that too much. I thought on the ball his dribbling was decent. I thought a few times he played his way out of trouble. I thought he wasn't helped by the fact he was next to Christian Eriksen, and he was trying and helped out by Dele Alli as well. Two players who are not known for their defensive play, and Winks himself isn't a very defensive midfielder, so he's always going to be left exposed in that situation. I felt the midfield for Liverpool, they found it too easy against our midfield to play, and the physicality as well. And I thought Winks suffered a bit, but I thought he did as well as he could, and I didn't think he was too bad. I didn't think he was overrun too much, and a few moments he was progressing the ball quite well going forward, and I thought he did okay with what he had.
Yeah, and I think he did suffer a bit in that first half. In that first half, Liverpool had about 75% possession or something and completely overrun us. So I think the comments on Twitter were mainly to do with his first half performance. But like you said, I feel for him a bit because he was in there with pretty much on his own with Eriksen, and they had their first choice centre midfielders in there. So I think you got to give Winks a bit of leeway on this performance just because of the team that we're playing in and the injury problems that we've had. So
I think he's put in a better performance yesterday than he had in other games when he started against lower league.
I think you're right. Which moves us on to Dele Alli. We gave him a 5. Very, very frustrating display from Dele. I thought Dele was just up to his usual. Well, the past 5 or 6 games, Dele just really hasn't been at it, and it's pretty much a carbon copy of all those performances where he gets the ball, where it's just those flicks and losing the ball in the middle of the park and not much coming off for him, which is just really frustrating because we know what Dele can produce.
He had a couple nice moments where he was dribbling past a few players and then good openings. But I felt like Dele yesterday, he's at his best when his brain is sharp, when he's thinking very quickly about quick movements, about quick passes,
when getting into good positions. Too much time to think about things, that's the problem.
That is the problem. That's exactly what happened yesterday. I felt like so many times he was dawdling on the ball. He had our Liverpool players come back and tackle him. There was one moment in the first half he had a really, really good chance to hit the target, blazed it over the bar, which is unlike Dele. And I felt in the second half as well, there was one great moment. He dribbled past about 2-3 players, getting into the box, didn't release it in time, and Van Dijk was able to get in a challenge. That's when Dele's at his most frustrating. But there was some decent moments, but overall, really frustrating game.
But I thought that all his decent moments all kind of overshadowed by poor end product at the end or losing the ball at the end kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Next up, Christian Eriksen. We gave him a 2. If this is to be his last game, it's a really bad way to go out.
Yeah, it looked like it was, waving to the fans at the end when he was going off and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there was some videos circulating.
And he also got a very bad reception when he went off. He
did. Which is, I can understand it because obviously this season he's put in a number of below par performances, and this I honestly think topped the lot because clearly there's a deal imminent with Inter Milan. Everyone can see it. It's been circling around for a few weeks now. It's obviously very close to the end. And he was putting in challenges as if he didn't want to get injured. Every 50-50 he was pulling out of. This is a guy who who isn't the most strong in a challenge anyway. But this was like zero effort going into challenges at all. Anytime there was a ball there to be won, he pulled out of a challenge. His passing was bad as well. I felt he played one. I remember nice ball into the box to Son, but other than that, his passing was sloppy. It wasn't accurate. It wasn't going to his men. And it made the world of difference when he went off for Lo Celso. I thought Lo Celso was industrious.
He was brilliant when he came on.
Yeah, and it made all the difference. And Eriksen, it's such a shame if this was his last performance because he really, really is going out with a whimper.
Yeah, he is. And I think, it just sums up his past kind of 6-7 months at Tottenham Hotspur. I felt that, Eriksen, how long has he been at Spurs now?
6-7 years,
nearly. 6-7 years, I think for the first 6 years or the first 5.5 years, he was the best player at Tottenham. We found it so hard to attack without him. It's a shame that it had to come to something like this, where, he gets booed off on his last game. I think that I want to thank Eriksen for everything he's done for Tottenham Hotspur, but I think that the last 6 months shouldn't overshadow all the good work he's done at Tottenham. I
agree with you. I just question why Mourinho was playing him, to be honest. I question why, if a deal is imminent and he's clearly pulling out challenges as if a deal was imminent, then why start him especially start him in central midfield next to Winks and the double pivot as well in a position where physicality is needed, is actually vital in that position. Why he played Eriksen, whether maybe Mourinho was sending a message to Levy, that's the only reason I could think why he did it, because it was a bad move in my opinion. It didn't work, and it was a good move and we improved a lot more when he went off.
Yeah, I think if Sissoko or Ndombele were fit, Eriksen wouldn't be playing this game.
But Lo Celso was fit and he put him on in centre mid.
Yeah, and I think Lo Celso, most of the time he started, hasn't pulled up any trees, and I think
he hasn't started in centre mid.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe he thought it was a bit too much of a risk to start him in centre mid.
And it wasn't a risk to play a player who's not going to make a challenge.
Yeah, well, Eriksen's done that role for us before, and I think in the past couple of games under Mourinho, he has come on and changed the game in some sense.
He has done that role before, but not next to a player like Harry Winks. He's usually had a Dembele or a Wanyama next to him who can be physical, but next to Winks and Eriksen together was never going to work.
But I agree with you. It's a difficult situation. You either bring in Eriksen, who's done that role before, but obviously he's imminent about to move, so his head might not be in it, or you play a Lo Celso who we don't know if he can do that role. You know what I mean? So it's a difficult situation.
I think he made a mistake in my opinion, but anyway.
Anyway, moving on to Lucas Moura, we gave him a 7. I thought, especially in that second half, he was absolutely superb. He was running after every ball. He was taking on many men actually. And I thought that he looked like just a bull, and he was really up for it, and he really wanted it. It's just a shame there was not much quality at the end of his kind of bullish runs. Yeah,
a number of times he picked up the ball in the middle of the park, dribbled past a few players, and he couldn't really make things happen. He had one shot early in the second half, which he probably will be disappointed he didn't get it on target. But I thought he was the one really, really trying to ask questions of the Liverpool defence. He wasn't just passing it out wide or making things easy. He actually tried to make things difficult for them. But he was well marshalled by the Liverpool defence, I must say. But at least he was really putting in the effort, and he was also tracking back as well with his speed and really trying to make things happen. But it was just unfortunate.
You could just see how much he wanted it, though. That's the point. You know what I mean? When you compare him to players like Eriksen and Ali, who were just like really lethargic, didn't look like they cared that much. When you have Lucas Moura, who was literally just like a bulldog, just running after everything, wearing his heart on his sleeve. You know what I mean? That's what we like to see from our players.
Yeah. Last in the starting 11, we got Heung-min Son. We gave him a 6. Obviously, he missed that massive opportunity late in the second half to equalise. Unlike Son with that finish, just blazing it over the bar. Yeah. He's used that's perfect position for him on the left-hand side of the box, whipping into the far corner. But he just couldn't get a good connection on it, could he? Which is a massive shame for him. But I thought throughout the game he was a decent threat on the counter on that left-hand side. He started more on the left than up front than I thought he would. I thought he did okay, but you probably might expect more from him. I thought a couple of moments, Toby played a nice ball over the top and he nearly got in behind, but I thought the Liverpool defence played really well, especially Alisson as well, who whenever Son kind of got a sniff in behind, he was out there quick as a flash and clearing the ball away. So credit to Liverpool for that. But I thought he didn't do too much wrong, Son, but obviously Son is our main attacking threat, so you expect a bit more.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tame performance from Son. I felt that he was a good outlet on that left hand side, but I felt that he just didn't do enough. He did like the kind of just about getting there, an okay performance, but you need to push on for that. The Son we know attacks on all cylinders, you know what I mean? Taking on his man, finishing to great effect, putting in great balls, great assists, and he didn't really have the end product.
I felt he penned Trent back a bit more than usual. I thought Trent wasn't as gung-ho going forward as he was in the other games, so maybe they looked at that and thought they need to keep Trent back a bit.
No, they dealt with him well. They dealt with him well. But all in all, the problems that we had in this game was our finishing. Son missed a clear-cut chance. Lo Celso missed a clear-cut chance. And the chances that were not so clear-cut, the shots were just tame, you know what I mean? Just straight at Alisson, over the bar, something like that.
That was it.
So that was our problem.
Jose, obviously we can touch on the substitutes as well. Lamela and Lo Celso both got 20 minutes each.
I thought Lo Celso was absolutely brilliant when he came on. Provided a great outlet. I felt that he replaced Eriksen, who was poor, and we brought on a player in Lo Celso who's been absolutely brilliant when we brought him on. He looked so comfortable on the ball, taking it past players, making stuff happen. But he really needed to finish that chance at the end.
He did. He
had to finish that.
He'll be kicking himself if he didn't finish that chance, absolutely. But I thought not only did he bring creativity, he also brought energy to the press as well. He was catching a few players off guard in possession and defence. And I felt a couple of times he was in that space in between the midfield and attack, just playing some lovely balls over the top. Again, him as well, nearly finding Son in behind, but just Liverpool defence just did enough to stop him from doing that. But also Lamela as well, I thought did really well when he came on. I was very impressed with him. I thought dribbling ability was great. He had one opportunity with a shot which Alisson saved pretty comfortably. But other than that, it was his tackle that set up Son's chance as well. So I thought I really feel like Lamela could be a Mourinho type of player.
Yeah, it's like when we first joined, we thought Lamela would be the first one out the door with all his injury problems and stuff like that. But the energy and the will that he shows Lamela and the fight, he's up for it every time. And I think that we just need more players with his mentality.
But yeah, Jose, what mark do you give him?
I give Jose quite a high mark, to be honest. I think about an 8, something like that. Just because I thought he had a game plan, he implemented it. And I think he implemented it to perfection. The only thing that stopped us getting points out of this game was a throw-on that shouldn't have been a throw-on, you know what I mean? I thought that we dealt with Liverpool well. Defensively, it's the best defensive performance I've seen us do this season, 100%. I think our defence looked back at it. We played with like 2 banks of 4 and we clearly had a game plan. We had chances to score as well,
Jose Tanganga as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was just immense. We were all calling for Dyer and Jan to be out the team because they haven't been performing, and that's what he did. I felt that he can't. It's nothing to do with him that we can't finish our chances. We're not clinical enough, and the referee gives a throw on, and we make a defensive mistake from that throw on. That's not down to him. That's down to the players. I felt everything that was down to him was spot on, pretty much.
I thought he had to.
Apart from the Eriksen, maybe.
Yeah. I thought it was a mistake to play Eriksen for me from the start. I thought he should have gone with Lo Celso, in my opinion, in the centre. But I thought he did the right thing to approach the game the way he did. I don't think he had much of a choice because Liverpool were just wiping everyone aside so far this season. And if we would have gone, how Pochettino would have approached this game, we probably would have been slapped 3 or 4 because it would have played right into Liverpool's hands. We frustrated them. We tried to make things as difficult as possible. I think the plan, clearly for me anyway, was to keep it tight up until the last 20 minutes, make sure there's only no more than a goal in it, and then really go for it in the last 20 minutes and see what we can do. Once Liverpool tired, get the fresh legs of Celso and Lamela on, and then create a few chances. And we did look like we were going to score in the last 20 minutes. Unfortunately, if the game was 5 minutes longer, we might have got something. But I think the tactics worked. But the only thing I'd say is in this kind of game, when you sit deep. Yeah, it was impressive. It was an impressive tactical plan, but It's when it's how he approaches other games as well, Southampton, Norwich, and these. I'm still waiting to see how he approaches these kind of games as well as the games like against Liverpool, because I think with this kind of performance, to an extent, was something we were calling for more when Pochettino was playing big games in these types of situations. A bit more pragmatism, be a bit more conservative, because whenever we came up in a big game under Pochettino, would always concede early, would always be chasing the game all the time. And I always called for a bit of tactical nous with him, and he never really brought that. So it was good to see that of Jose now, but whether it affects our attacking play in the other games, it remains to be seen.
Well, yeah, it also remains to be seen if we will set up like this in games coming up, because obviously we got Watford away next league game. So we'll see how we set up there. But let's just talk about this game as like a kind of isolated event. But I think that Jose got it spot on. He really did in this game. So I think you got to give him credit.
I think it was, if it wasn't for bad misses from Son or Lo Celso, people would be talking about a tactical masterclass from Mourinho to blunt Liverpool and create chances of our own. It's just again, we ended up with no points. We end up losing the game. And in the context of over the Christmas period, we're now 4 games without a win. And it's all well and good, looking good like we did yesterday and putting in a decent shift, but we got nothing to show for it. And if we had got something out of Southampton and Norwich and wins, and then we looked okay but lost this game, it's more acceptable. But having not got anything out of the game, you need more than just looking good. We need the points.
I understand that, but you're talking about the best team in Europe or the best team in the world at the moment, and you're talking about a very depleted Tottenham Hotspur squad where our 2 best players have just got injured for the rest of the season. So you got.
We did the best of what we had. It's
exactly.
True. We did do the best of what we had.
We did the best of what we had, and I think Jose had a game plan. He implemented it, and it was just unfortunate. As he said at the end, it's football, and these things happen.
No, I agree with that. In this game in isolation, you got to give him a lot of credit. Yeah, it's just frustrating that again we've got nothing to show for it, and we're really falling behind in the top 4 race now, and we're getting 21 games in now, 9 points behind Chelsea. It's going to be have to be a big effort to claim those points back as we did previously. Yeah, I agree. But anyway, that is our player ratings. Like, subscribe and comment below and tell me what you thought of our player ratings, and as always, come on you Spurs.